All right, here we go.
All right.
Michael Jai White, welcome to VladTV.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. I'm a long-time fan.
Oh, appreciate that.
Long-time fan. Spawn was really one of my favorite superhero movies.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Thank
You know, because I'm a little older.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, does that make me pretty old?
Well, you've been doing it for a while.
Yes, I have.
You've been doing it consistently for a while in a very tough place to be consistent in.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah. Well, it's your first time here.
Yeah.
So let's start from the very beginning.
There it is.
So you were born in Brooklyn, but you moved to Bridgeport.
Yeah, born in Brooklyn, moved to Bridgeport in grammar school, like I think somewhere around sixth grade, and it was kind of a culture. It's not really much of a culture shock. This culture shock is that Bridgeport was crazier than Brooklyn.
Right. I have friends from Bridgeport.
Right.
That is a rough area.
Absolutely.
That is a very, very rough area. And how did it affect you personally?
Well, I mean, I was, I lived in an environment where, life was, a lot of times I'm, hey, where's Bucky? Oh, Bucky got killed last night. Oh, we can't play with him anymore. So it was just one of these things where I was a little desensitized to it. And so, every day could be your last. And it kind of fed my whole martial art thing. I trained to go to my high school. And so, I was an insecure kid, so I really put a lot of energy in martial arts. And what you do, so I was a sensitive kid, so what you do, if you have that sensitivity, you build armor. And so I built a lot of armor.
Okay. And in terms of your family, both parents at home?
No.
Just your mom?
Yeah, just my mom. My mom was I can't get it wrong. My mom was a sweet church lady.
Okay.
And very, very, I call my mom the Black Edith Bunker.
Okay.
Yeah, like
all the family.
This lady knows nothing about anything. And so really I was out there and she didn't know. I mean, bless her heart, she didn't know how to handle somebody like me. She was somebody who did what she was told, follow the crowd, and which incidentally taught me a disdain for following the crowd and just so I kind of marched to my own tune.
Okay.
But yeah, I was on my own since I was 14.
Okay, and where was your dad during this time?
Doing his thing. He was in Harlem.
He was still in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys didn't have much contact?
Yeah, we had contact, but my father was somewhat of a player gangster type of guy.
Okay.
I mean, my father, when he would like enlighten me with certain his parts of his philosophy. Like I remember when I was 13, I visited him in his apartment and he was going out for the night. And what he would always say is, you're never completely dressed until you have your matching pistol. He had a gun that matched every outfit. And so, yeah, so.
That's different.
Yeah,
okay.
For me, like, when I went to school, I'm like, oh, you got to be strapped. You got to be strapped.
That's my dad told me.
Yeah, and so at 14, he gave me a gun. He put me out on the street and said, hey, he wanted to find a clip for a 25 automatic and send me out to see if I could find one. Okay, once I found one, I kept the gun. He forgot all about it. But yeah, this dude just, I don't know, he was a little different, right?
Okay.
And he was a gangster. I mean, he was a player gangster, and that's kind of was my role model, so to speak.
It's your father.
Yeah, and when I was 15, and my mother calls him, let him know that I'm going through a paternity suit, because I look like a grown ass man, from the time I was like 14, 15.
Okay.
I mean, he was happy. He's like, what? Yeah, all right. Like, so it's, this whole thing where, it's probably a good thing that he didn't grow up with me. I'd be real screwed up. But yeah, it was, he wasn't around that much, but when I was around him, I kind of got some alternate messages,
Alternate education.
Yeah, it was kind of different, but I don't know, like if he heard about me, you know, in street fights or whatever, this dude was ready to erect a statue in my honor. It's almost like an alternate world. The things that would just happen on a Wednesday would be stuff that you'd see in movies. I didn't know this was that weird until I really got older, you know, and until I ended up going to school and realizing the world ain't like this. You know, there's this, there's like the civilian world, and then there's the street world. And all the rules of the street world, if you use those rules in the civilian world, you're in trouble.
It's not going to work out.
Yeah, but I instantly, even to this day, I'll click back. I can click right back in the street world in a second because I recognize it. I grew up with it, and it's addicting. I understand when people can't get that out of their system because it's like a movie. It's so electric, and there's a beauty of living in the moment, right?
Yeah, and outside the system.
Yeah, there's a beauty. There's a beauty in living in the moment. But of course, there are those that live in the moment and they can't see a future. Where you see this problem over and over, and they do things because I guess they don't really see very much of a tomorrow. And so I think that led me to the philosophy I have to this day is every day I live, I do something for the future. And after I'm done with that, I live in the moment because we're never going to see that day again. You know, so, you know, I don't want to look up and see the clouds and just say, hey, you know, it looks like it'll rain. I want to be able to see that it looks like a bunny. You know, as corny as it seems, but every day there's a gift. All right, so I just think everything points to a balance between those two lifestyles. And it's really served me a great deal that I happen to be the happiest person I know. And I've been that way for several years. And I think that's largely because of my upbringing, when I realized how harsh it really was and when I really had problems. I'm kind of embarrassed to complain about any problems I have now.
I mean, during that time, what was the most serious shit that you were involved in?
Oh, man. I had this angst. If you ask me at any waking moment what my thoughts were, it's probably something violent.
Okay.
So I would turn down hooking up with the finest girl in town over a gang fight. I loved to fight.
Okay.
I loved it like you would not believe. It was something about the electricity and it was like I was addicted to fighting. And when I did martial arts, it wasn't for any glorious reasons. I could fight all the time and not get in trouble for it. You know what I mean?
You just like hitting people.
Yeah, well, I think it's the release. It's the release of this angst. I think it's what it is, you know, when you, like I say, you're a sensitive type, you build that armor. I mean, if you look at the most violent people in society, some of the toughest people in society, that same person is probably the most sensitive person you might know. Me and my brother grew up in the same household. He's an engineer. Things that rolled off his back affected me deeply, right? So I could get in a gang fight and, you know, go into tears over a stray dog in a second.
If you're talking about gang fights in the 80s, they don't really end with fist fights a lot of times. Might start off that way.
Yeah, well,
you know, and I've interviewed some of the, you know, biggest gangsters out there. You know, I mean, I just interviewed Mob James from Mob Pyru, who said that
I didn't look at it like that then. I mean, I was gangbanging. My whole thing was retaliation every time. You got to go back, regardless if it was me or one of the homeboys. If they shot at us, I went back and shot at them. I mean, retaliation, that's just the way we live.
It was a lot of that. Yeah, there was a lot of gunplay as well. I've probably been in about 12 shootouts in my life.
12 shootouts?
Oh, yeah, easily.
You never got hit, though?
Yeah.
You did get hit?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm part of a group of, and that's not even strange the way I grew up. You know, it wasn't even like a badge of honor. See, I grew up at the tail end of that, well, really the beginning of that crack area.
Yeah.
I straightened up and I got out of there pretty early, but I still dabbled. I'd be in college, but on the weekends, I'm in the projects because I'm addicted to that life. Still to this day, I've never been high, never drank. Right.
Okay.
So I was a weirdo. I love to fight. I love to be the backup. That was exciting to me. Like I said, the favorite thing I did was fighting at the time. But I mean, really, the first guns I ever got were from fist fights.
Oh, from fist fights.
Really?
Let you go say your dad.
Well, outside, I'd already gotten one before then. But the thing is, I mean, altercations happen face to face.
Yeah.
And even though people say, martial arts and what about a gun? You're not going to encounter me from across the street. Mm-hmm. So, it happens face to face, and guess who got your gun? So
you would take guns from people after beating them up.
Well, that happened a number of times early on. And, like I said, I didn't think that was even weird at the time. There was a lot of, I got to say, I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet.
How many times did you get shot?
2.
2 times? Mm-hmm. And where'd you get shot on your body?
One here and one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Non-life-threatening. But then again, you don't know.
Oh, it's funny how the mind works, because when this happened, I had basically, it was a sawed off that I knocked out of the way when it went off, and I had blood on my shirt.
I mean, a sawed off at close range is one of the most deadliest weapons on earth.
Yeah.
Point blank. If you didn't do that, you'd have a hole in the middle of your body.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a hole in the middle of my body.
Okay.
Because I was convinced that I was holding my guts in while running away.
Wow.
Until I got to a bathroom and did this, and nothing was there, just stains. And then look and see, this was white. This was completely white over here, and then the pain came.
White as in the bone?
Well, just flesh.
Flesh, yeah.
So that was just basically a scathe. So it's just one of these things where I don't know. It's like I said, it was not strange to me. Miraculously, I think there were a few instances in my life that changed my life and took me in a completely different path. And had I not seen these few images, I don't know what would have happened. One, there was a motivational speaker that came to my school. Something about how he talked to me, talked to everybody. Something about him made me think, oh, I could do this. He was a lawyer, so I said, okay, yeah, I'm good at arguing. I could get my point across, and maybe I could do what he does. And then, secondly, one time, being broken up from a fight, when the cops came, I got on my bike and it was zigzagging, found myself lost in a neighborhood not far from mine that I did not know existed. It was a really beautiful neighborhood built around a lake. And I saw a young black couple moving into a house, and they looked like they didn't have a care in the world. I looked at those people just astonished. And I realized, oh shit, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so angry, because that's what I want to be. And the day before that, I wanted to be like Brett Griffin, who drove around with machine guns in his car. He was the man of the streets. He was the cat that everybody talked about. When I saw that image, my whole trajectory changed, and I wanted to become those people, and pretty much set on the course to where I am today.
Well, you started practicing martial arts at 8?
Yeah, 7, 8.
Okay. And you stuck with it. I mean, I studied karate also. I got to like a orange belt and I quit.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But you actually stuck with it and kept learning new styles along the way, right? Don't you have like 7 different belts? And
Eight now. I really think there's something to how certain physical makeup of certain people. Like it was fortuitous that I would play someone like Mike Tyson because I shared a great deal of similarities to him. The fact that I was young, this young big kid, I was a black belt at 13 years old, and I was fighting grown men. And I had this undue, honor by grown people that, in a male-dominated society, people really cherish fighters, especially men. They honor the pugilist above anything. If you had a whole room full of dignitaries and famous people, and Mike Tyson walks in, or a fighter walks in,
or
everybody's
Mayweather walks in,
everybody's gonna look at him because really, deep down, every man wants to be the dominant man.
It's a good point. If you had Mayweather and Drake side by side, you'd probably have a little more respect for Mayweather.
Yeah, of course. It's if somebody.
I never thought about that.
Early on, when I was younger, okay, here I am. I'm a kid. I'm used to people. I get to a point where I'm used to people knowing I won this martial arts championship or that martial arts championship. Meanwhile, only people in that division or that organization even knows I'm the freaking champion of that organization because
right. You're not a celebrity.
But I'm a celebrity among this
among
group.
them, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's it, right? So I'm going through my asshole phase by making segues into conversations that don't involve me, right, with strangers. And I'm going to make a segue to talking about how, this championship I won or whatever. And I was like, and just because I was so used to people making a big deal out of what I did. And, I heard myself one too many times be that asshole and go, man, this is like some weak shit. Like, this is some weak shit. You can't make this all about you. And what about the being humble and what this whole thing is all about? And I just thought that was a weak thing. But I'm glad I learned that early. Because then, being a big fish in a small pond don't mean much. And so, I won this championship and that championship, but I was like, really, what do I really want out of life? Is that enough? I remember having a fight in Boston, and I caught somebody really, really bad. The guy, eyes rolled up, fell down, and at that moment, everybody stood up and cheered. The crowd cheered for me. And in that moment, I felt like an idiot. I felt like a damn dog, like some kind of pit bull. And I said, you know what? And I hated everybody that was cheering me. Because I was thinking about, you know what? If that was me down on the floor, you'd be cheering still. Yeah. And I have more to offer than being your damn pit bull. And so everything, things just changed. And that rah-rah, that anger, me fighting against all the ills of my life, it changed. It changed. It wasn't enough for me. I still kept the fighting thing, but I did so as, in philosophy. It was about a thing. It was about if my opponent is good, he's going to make me better.
Here's where the story gets kind of interesting, to me at least. Here you have this street kid who's getting shot multiple times, getting into fights, doing a bunch of other shit, I'm sure, along the way. And then you end up going to Yale?
Well, I mean, it's not that.
You see what I'm saying? Well, you went to Yale and Brown, I guess.
No, I mean, some of that is wrong.
That's not right.
Yeah. Some of that is wrong, like, when the write-ups or whatever. I mean, I mainly, I got accepted, but did not go. There's
okay, my bad.
Yeah. So here's what happened. I wound up going to University of Connecticut.
Okay.
I came out and started teaching, right? And so once I was done in university, I started teaching EMD, emotionally disturbed children. And so I was given the opportunity to go and study like in a grad teacher's kind of situation as I was teaching, so, I would then have all of my credentials put together while I'm doing, but while I'm doing that, I'm being paid as a full-fledged teacher that was going for my degree. Mm-hmm. And so that was a deal offered to me. But after 3 years, I ended up following the acting thing. And and I left teaching.
Okay, so you never went to Yale?
No.
Okay, but you got accepted.
Yeah.
Pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like, it was kind of a thing to where, I see, it's funny how that stuff gets written up because I'm like, I never, it's like there's so many things that are in, social media.
Wikipedia and so forth, the articles. Yeah. Okay, all right, we got that cleared up.
Yeah, so.
But still, you went to college.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you got your degree and so forth.
Yeah.
You left all that behind and actually started thinking ahead and pursuing a legitimate career.
Yeah.
And then the acting bug hit you.
Well, yeah, the acting bug was kind of there. While I was teaching, I in my vacations and off time, I would go out for, commercials and theatrical things in New York. And, at first I didn't think I had what it took to be an actor because while I was in college, all the actors seemed to be just very, very outward. Just they wanted a lot of attention. They seemed to be
flamboyant.
Yeah, big narcissistic, and I was like, I don't identify with these people. But my interest was solely as, in that kind of psychosocial perspective. I knew every kind of person growing up. Every kind of person I had friendships with. I don't care who they were. I even had friendships with skinheads. I knew every kind of person because I could identify with them on some kind of level. And sometimes friends would tell me when I would just, recount a story, oh my God, you just became that person. And I was like, oh, what, really? Okay. So the acting thing was something that was interesting because I felt like I had the ability to look at life through another lens, So I thought, wow, this is fun. Maybe it won't be a career, but at least let me get my feet wet and see what I could do. And if I fail, fine. At least I got it out of my system. And so, luckily, I got great feedback and wound up doing theater in New York and later venturing out to LA.
So you go out to LA, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Get off the bus or the plane or whatever.
Right.
And say, okay, I'm going to make it in Hollywood. Your first major role ended up being the Mike Tyson movie.
Yeah.
How many years passed from the moment you touched down in LA to that movie?
Okay, I got to LA in 92 and Tyson was 94.
2 years.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
Not bad.
Not
good
bad. Compared to some of your peers.
Especially because even in New York, what made me start to go the acting route is that I would go out for things and then I get callbacks and I find myself in a callback session with people I recognize from TV. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting kind of close because one time you're going to be busy, you're going to be sick, you're not going to be available, and it's going to be me, And so I kept getting so close to things. So it just told me that I'm doing the right thing. So when I came out to LA, honestly, when I went for the Tyson thing, I'm going, wait a minute, I'm supposed to sound like Tyson, I'm supposed to look like him or whatever. Well, thank you very much. I'm parked outside. I can go. And they're like, no, give it a try. I'm like, really? I can't sound like that dude. And I gave it a shot. So I guess whatever that was in my head that I could, kind of inhabit certain things from people, that came in handy. And then I started to realize all the things that I had in common with the guy. And so really what it's about is, you're playing somebody from the inside out. I gotta say, my temper was worse than I've seen of his, growing up. It was, I honestly had the worst temper I've ever witnessed in my life growing up.
Anything will set you off.
No, there would be specific things that would set me off. But I mean, but it was a famously horrid temper.
Okay.
But that came with not knowing things.
You know what's interesting? I'm going through your biography here. I mean, your Wikipedia page. And before that Tyson role, you had a whole bunch of stuff like Toxic Avenger Part 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
You were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as an audience fan.
Right, yeah.
Universal Soldier. That was with Jean-Claude.
Well, yeah, but that was afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It says 92, but I guess.
Yeah, they got it all kinds of screwed up.
They got it all screwed up. And then you were getting small. Yeah, you were in Saved by the Bell. And you were in Martin, I guess, a little bit later.
Yeah. I was doing a lot of bit work.
But the Tyson thing, that was actually starring you.
Yes,
you're on the poster.
Yeah, with George C. Scott.
Scott.
That's an Oscar
with a story that everyone wanted to know about. Honestly, like anyone who's like 20-something years old has no idea how big of a icon Tyson was.
Oh man, Tyson
during our era, way bigger than Mayweather.
Oh my God, yeah.
As big as you think Mayweather is right now, Tyson was 10 times that.
Well, of course, because people still. I mean, I was watching a fight this weekend, and the trainer was saying, go in like Mike Tyson. I mean, Mike Tyson is synonymous with ferocity, and strength and power.
Because honestly, you have no idea how boring a Mayweather fight is compared to a Tyson fight.
Oh yeah.
Tyson will go in there in 30 seconds and knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, because
do not go to the bathroom near the beginning of the fight because you will miss the whole thing.
Absolutely. I mean, Tyson is going to live in history as if you want to live vicariously through a whirling dervish, a something that personifies power and fury.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, there's nobody else you're gonna live vicariously through in history that has that.
Right, and he had all the drama around his life.
Oh, absolutely. I had
unlike
to
a
really
Mayweather, like he actually had the craziness because when you did the actual movie, he was locked up for the rape charge.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I had to delve deep into his life, and like I say, there was.
I think that's actually how the movie ended, right? You going in the room with the girl and.
Yeah, that's where the movie ended.
Yeah,
but I kind of jumped in like both feet. I went to Catskills, like knocked on the door of the place where Tyson grew up.
The group home.
Yeah, the group home.
Yeah.
And talked to the people who were involved at the time. Because, I mean, basically I said, like, hey, this story's going to get told. Don't you want your say? And they did. I talked to Kevin Rooney. I spent time with him, and I even trained with him, And because my thing was I want to tell the truth, because there was a lot of stuff in that script that was like being a kid from Brooklyn originally, and I'd read it, I'm like, this don't make sense to me. And I found out, it was like I was a detective. I'm like, there was a lot of parts in there that I was going like, that don't jive, and I got to the root of a lot of it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a great special.
It was a great opportunity for me because I mean, honestly, you don't get that many chances to really act. Because a lot of things that are written on such a surface level. Right,
and biopics are so hard to get right. Because, people still talk bad about the Aaliyah biopic to this day.
And it's weird for me, because I'm playing somebody who's current.
Most biopics. Dead. They're not 100 years old.
Exactly. You could turn the channel and see the real guy and compare, see if I'm doing a good job or not.
And you guys ran into each other after the movie.
We run into each other a number of times. We have a lot. I mean, I'm a fight nerd. So boxing nerd, fight nerd all my life. So, I mean, my best friend was Frankie Lyles, who was really good friends with Mike Tyson. Frankie was WBA champion at the time, and I always traveled with him to his fight camps, and I trained with him, and so he knew Tyson, and he'd put us on the phone together, and So yeah, we all have known each other, have a lot of connections. And I've run into Mike a number of times, but we don't, I think we spoke about the movie like one time, and it was maybe all of 40 seconds.
Oh, so he wasn't even really tripping.
No.
All right. Well,
Yeah. It was
he's
like,
used to being famous. I mean,
well, yeah, and plus it was like, I think he probably was concerned with other stuff coming out that wasn't in the movie. So, it was, I think it treated him pretty fair.
I think so.
Yeah, and I did the best job I could. So,
Yeah.
I'm my worst critic. So, so if I did my best, I can't look back.
So after that, you started getting more roles. And you're kind of an action star at this point. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a thing where I still have more dramatic roles and comedic roles than roles where I'm kicking people in the mouth. But when you kick somebody in the mouth, that tends to define you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, look at Wesley Snipes' career. That guy has probably done 10% martial art type stuff, but he gets labeled as a martial artist. I mean, you think about all the acting work, King of New York, all the funny things he's
Yeah, but everyone remembers
White
Blade.
Man Can't Jump, and
It's all about Blade, though.
yeah, it becomes Blade. He's Blade.
He's Blade.
You know what I mean? It's like, this dude is an actor. This dude has acted his ass off for
Blade.
a long time.
I remember you from Blade.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. I saw, but that's why early on I didn't want to do a martial arts type of movie, even though I was offered a martial arts contract early on when I first came into town. But I was like, oh no, that's going to put me on martial arts island. And so people are just they think that martial art movies are synonymous with bad acting. It's kind of almost like porn.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I guess The Rock is probably a someone that you think can act well and also does a lot of action stuff.
Well, my
Dwayne Johnson.
No, well, I look at Harrison Ford. That's to me that
Yeah,
because
although he's not really he doesn't fight really.
Yeah, he's really
a bit.
Harrison Ford was the #1 action star in the world for a long time.
Yeah, because of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh God, what? Not just Raiders of. I mean, he's done so many. He's like Air Force One. He's like,
yeah, that's true.
He's the Fugitive. Oh, he's done so many action movies that you forget that it's an action because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
But now Stallone or Schwarzenegger, they're action stars because their main component is action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also showing off their bodies and stuff like that. You don't really see Harrison Ford with his shirt off all the time and that type of thing.
Yeah, you have, but actually Harrison Ford is like the #1 action star. He really, but that's my model. Somebody when I talk about somebody who's his acting makes it like surpass the genre.
Well, you did films with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
How many?
Two, I think.
Okay.
Wait, one? No, I only did one with him.
Universal Soldier?
Yeah. Well, two, if you count Universal Soldier 1 and 2.
Okay.
But you need the pause button to see me in Universal Soldier 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were in 2.
Yeah, I even trained with him. We trained together in Universal Soldier 1. And he didn't recognize me as the same person when I came back for...
For 2.
Yeah, for 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any interesting stories? Because he seemed a bit crazy.
I love him. I really love Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's a great person. I always wish the best for him. He's unfortunately he's had certain problems that hurt him. He is not the type that hurt other people. He is one of the reasons why I see Hollywood and they give him chance after chance, because to really know him is to know that he's a really, really nice person. Very genuine, very, very, very down to earth, really. And he's been consistently that way for a very long time. He's got this like childlike quality, which is very endearing, and I always wish the best for him.
You were in Exit Wounds.
Yes.
With DMX as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How's working with DMX?
Love DMX, man. we became instant friends. That guy is he's a very wise soul. Again, like
He's very
Jean-Claude.
very intense in person. I've interviewed him before. It's a mile a minute with him.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's weird for me because people who indulge in certain substances or whatever. I'm such a neophyte because I've never been drunk. I've never been high a day in my life. So when people are drinking or whatever, I don't even know how to take them. I'm kind of like
DMX does more than drink.
Yeah, I guess I don't know,
is.
but you know, like I am so like out of my depth in what that is. But when the times where we have talked, where I guess sober times, I can see him for the person that he is, and to me he's a very wise and just he's a very smart, insightful dude. I think you study his lyrics that you can't hide the integrity and the wisdom that he has.
His first 2 albums are amazing.
Yeah, I in the last number of years I've only seen him on different shows where, of course, they're kind of highlighting the problems he's having. Mm-hmm. So that's not the guy I really know. I don't know what went into what happened before the cameras roll, but that's not the guy I knew.
Well, and then you get Spawn in 97. I guess maybe 96.
Yeah, 97. 97.
So everyone talks about Black Panther being the first black superhero film, and they forget about Spawn.
I don't think they do that.
Nah.
I don't think anybody. I've heard references to Black Panther being the first, but I think they mean the first comic book. I think it is the first in some measure. Of course, it's not the first movie.
Well, Spawn was a superhero.
Yeah.
It was a comic book.
Right.
To be fair, it was more of an underground character.
Yeah, and
it wasn't Spider-Man. It wasn't Batman. It wasn't.
Spawn came around 20 years later than the other ones.
Exactly.
Of course, Black Panther existed as a comic book
in the 60s.
Decades before Spawn.
Exactly. Part of the Marvel universe. Spawn was never part of a bigger universe.
Yeah. So
it wasn't part of it. It was a DC comic, was it?
Well, no, Spawn?
Yeah.
Image.
Image, exactly. So it's a completely different company from Marvel and DC anyways.
Yeah, marketing wise, they say the first black superhero, they're saying it, they're being very creative when they're saying that. They're saying it because the first one that existed. So I get what they're doing there.
Right.
Yeah, but of course it's not the first, black superhero movie.
It was a very, very dope film and very dark. This was not like, happy ending, like.
I thought it was a damn happy ending. I loved it.
Well, no, but I meant like just the whole thing is just a very dark, really violent story where, the guy gets killed and he comes back as a demon and
you're talking about Spawn.
Talking about Spawn.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Black Panther. I was like,
no, I'm talking about Spawn. I'm like, where are we disjointed here?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Black Panther. I was like, oh, that's
Black
great.
Panther was had a happy ending.
Yeah. Spawn was
a very dark, like horror type film.
Yeah.
With demons and hell and the devil and everything.
Yep, and me playing the lead of it, I saw that last cut of it, and I was confused actually. I'll be honest with you, I was like, "What's going on here?" Like there was a cut before the final cut, and the director just threw a whole lot of special effects in there, and I thought kind of wrecked the story a bit. There was no longer any scenes with my character, the Al Simmons character, in any scenes with the Wanda character, so you would see what kind of life he's trying to get back to. Mm-hmm. I think it was more cut for people who already knew what Spawn was and not telling the story for people who didn't. Because, this guy was just so happy to put more special effects in that I was like, what the hell's going on right now?
Yeah, it was one of the early CGI films.
Yeah.
They were still kind of working out the kinks.
Yes, sir. But there were story elements that I'm sad to say didn't survive that last cut because of all the special effects, which, I've never. I have this. I don't know. I'm real superstitious about certain things, and I just can't lie about it. So that was like something that I was like, I really like that first version. Yeah.
Animated series was dope also.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's how you do the movie.
Yeah.
You don't PG-13 Spawn.
Yeah.
That's like, wait, are you going for a breakfast cereal? Or,
You're not getting that.
do it like the comic book. Like, do it like that animated series. Because I think these superhero movies really reward the darkness, especially this day and age. And it's one of the arguably darkest superhero characters. So
Yeah.
I think you go dark, you go strong, and I think it'll be pretty successful.
Well, you talk about dark movies. You were in The Dark Knight.
Yes. Yeah.
With Heath Ledger.
Absolutely.
Who I would say, now I haven't seen the new Joker, it's not out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Joaquin Phoenix is a hell of an actor.
Yes,
so
he is.
I'm not gonna say what's gonna happen yet. But right now, from this point of this interview, Heath Ledger was by far the best Joker.
I agree.
And I would put him over Jack Nicholson, who had a hell of a performance.
Absolutely.
And Jack had a hell of a performance in the first Batman movie.
I give Heath Ledger heads and tails above Jack Nicholson because I know it's going to be probably bad to say this stuff, but it's my opinion. Well, Jack Nicholson is, there's a lot of actors who are just really, you can't take your eyes off of them because of who they are. Jack Nicholson has that face and that voice, and he's going to be interesting if he just, read the alphabet.
Right.
And so that he brings that with every character he plays.
Yeah.
But Heath Ledger, to pull out that performance when he's this dashing leading man, good-looking guy, and he leaves all of that aside.
Well, he was in that Knight's Tale, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
where he plays this like pretty boy,
right,
blonde hair,
for
Prince
him to
Charming.
be this scary ass, crazy ass character. Come on, that's the essence of what great acting is. He's no part of Heath Ledger either. But mind you, one thing that upsets me is when people think he was doing this method acting, and he wasn't. You yell action, he goes into character. You yell cut, he goes right back into Heath Ledger. We were being very playful on set. We were always doing magic tricks and everything else. He was just an easygoing guy, and he was playing even on camera. He was trying out different modulations of his voice and everything. So he was having a good time.
Well, I rewatched that movie recently. I'm going to say that's the best Batman movie ever made.
I'd agree.
Yeah. I would say that's the best, and Christian Bale killed it in that film. But then there was the scene with you and the Joker,
I know what's coming.
which made no goddamn sense. No matter how many times I rewatched it.
Yes, sir.
Then I went on the
know what's
internet.
coming.
I went on the internet to say what the fuck just happened.
Exactly.
And the internet had no idea
Right.
what just happened.
Yeah.
And then I go and find out when I started reading interviews that you have no idea what happened.
Right.
So let's just.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Heath Ledger's the Joker's all in your face and he puts a knife in your mouth. Mm-hmm. And then you apparently die afterwards.
Because there was never a death scene.
But you drop.
You're right.
And
it's
you're
like because I get a half a Joker. It's in my mouth, not on my neck.
Yeah.
So my guess, and this is a guess, is that when the editing process was going on and they found out we've lost Heath Ledger, I believe there are certain preservation of as much of his performance, I think that was kind of a mandate. I feel that that's the case without anybody telling me, because I know that there were scenes with Cillian Murphy. He was on set. He shot things. Well, man, that's I love that guy too. You know, the guy from Peaky Blinders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unbelievable guy. But yeah, I believe there was a detour in that, because I know Gamble was meant to live on in other situations, and you know we'd all talked about it as well. And the half a cut was supposed to show up, you know, in another iteration of it. So there was no death of the character. Of course, a movie of that magnitude, you're not going to have. You know, you got a filmmaker like, you know, like him.
There's no accidents in a film of that big. That's $100 million whatever budget film.
Exactly. But now, if they meant to have a death scene, it would have been shot clearly.
So, did they shoot a scene with you getting your mouth cut open or anything?
Yeah,
else?
that happens, and I do this and go down. So with the editing of not showing me do this, which clearly says, "Oh shit, my mouth is cut,"
But you're
and
still
I
alive.
go down. If you cut that and you just see from a distance me falling, to me, understanding and
you just got
directing
killed.
and editing,
You just got killed.
That's something to make it seem like I was killed, because of course this is shot. You know, there's no way that this part is not shot. You see what I mean? So,
Well, and you never come back afterwards, so.
yeah, I but I think I don't come back afterwards because, in the same way, there's no Cillian Murphy, or Killian Murphy. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. And some of the other things that I saw in the script were not in the finished edit. I just thought maybe, some of the things that when Heath was just kind of improving, I think some of those things made it into it because they wanted to preserve as much of his performance as possible. I think that's my guess.
Did you see any of the, any of the drug use or the addiction or anything else like that?
God, no.
So none of that.
No,
because
not
he ended
at
up
all.
dying from an overdose, right?
Understanding this, Heath had problems sleeping, right? And sometimes you get used to a certain sleeping medication. And a lot of people make this mistake where you can take the sleeping medication, your tolerance goes up, and then you get an injury. And you're not connecting that injury medication to the sleep medication, and that's enough to do it right there. That almost happened to me, and I take almost nothing, right? And I had I forgot what it was, but it was some kind of thing that some painkiller. But I also had every now and then, like I would take once a week, I would take a Ambien type of thing. But I almost did that.
Well, I'm looking at the autopsy and toxicology report. It was a mix of oxycodone, hydrocodone, diazepam, temazepam, alprazolam, and doxylamine.
Isn't that exactly pain medication and sleep medication?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it said the manner of death is accident resulting from the abuse of prescribed medications.
Right.
He took a bunch of prescribed medications and mixed them up.
And this is
Didn't wake up, I guess.
Yeah, this is during that time where he was doing the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus that had these weird hours. It's like this wasn't during the Dark Knight at all. I mean, that guy was very, he was very coherent, very playful, very, he had a great time. He was a really genuine and a really nice human being. It's funny because on set, a lot of us, and even a lot of the people that was just playing day player roles, we would give him a wide berth. We give him, we wouldn't want to bother him, and give him his time. And he's the one initiating conversation all the time. And it was almost to where we look like assholes, like we're like not playing with him, and he's like, "Hey, play with me, guys!" He was just like, he'd be the one initiating the conversation.
So he actually ended up winning an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor playing the Joker.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised.
Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Well deserved.
Again, I mean, look at what he accomplished. I mean. So many actors get Academy Awards for being cast correctly. I see that a lot, and almost like I say, they should share that award with the casting director.
Yeah, I mean, he actually won it after he died, which is kind of the sad part.
Yeah. But I think he would have won it if he was alive. I don't feel like that was one kind of of a tribute type of thing. I think he deserved.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, he killed it. Mm-hmm. How bad did it hit you when you found out about his death?
Again, let's bring back the way I grew up. I think early on when death is just so commonplace, that same numbness, you just kind of go, you accept it and you go, oh shoot, okay. I don't know. I think that's probably why I deal with death pretty well. Sometimes even people close to me, I'm very accepting of it. But I think that's something that happened early on.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just a part of life. We're all going to die. You and I are going to have that date also at some point.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
When you look at, for example, Suicide Squad,
yeah.
you see the Joker depiction by Jared Leto.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Because you purposely did not want to see it because of...
No, honestly, I really don't watch that many movies. A lot of these movies are not meant for me. They're meant for the fan base.
Okay.
And it's just not meant for me. I'm too close to it.
I saw it, man, and that was the most disappointing Joker ever. Like I'll say it. They threw face tattoos on him and big gold chains, and it was like, nah.
Yeah.
And let me just interrupt you real quick. And he kind of had an affection towards Harley, Quinn, which is not the Joker character at all. He just never gave a fuck about her. So they're kind of fucking with the character a bit.
Yeah.
And it was just like, nah. After Heath Ledger, because what I didn't realize until I actually looked it up, Joker is the most famous comic book villain ever, period.
Really?
Name me a more famous villain.
I don't know.
Magneto is up there, but he's not the Joker.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor, he's known, but he's not the Joker.
Wow, really?
The most famous villain in all of comic books ever is the Joker. You do not fuck up the Joker.
I would have thought it was Lex Luthor.
No.
Yeah.
It's the Joker. How many Lex Luthors have you seen in movies and the such?
A lot. Quite a few, I think, right?
Yeah, in the early Superman films, and then one of the, he had some beef with,
yeah.
But not like the Joker, man. Mm-hmm. It's the Joker.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not as close to the comic book world as people might think.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
At one point, you had 14 girlfriends.
Yeah.
That's quite a juggling act.
Yeah, I think. But yeah, I going back on who I was somewhat raised by, and I thought that the mark of a man is how many women that you'd have, and and I learned early on because I started early. I was dealing with grown women when I was 14 and 15.
And you have 6 children now. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you had your first child?
I just turned 16.
Wow, you're a high school dad.
Yeah, I just turned 16. My son was born a month after my 16th birthday.
So you were told you're going to be a dad at 15 years old.
Yeah.
What is that, a sophomore in high school?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So this was really strange, but I mean, I had a very strange childhood, if you want to call it that. I I used to train at this community center in the hood, and I was known for winning and competing in tournaments against grown men at 15. So the people who ran the community center knew I would work out there. They gave me a space to work out with me and my karate guys, right? And then they offered me to teach my own class there, being paid under the table because they thought I was a grown ass man. Because I mean, I sounded like this. I was 15 and I'm in the paper for winning against grown men in the heavyweight division. So I couldn't convince people I was 15 when I was. Nobody believed me, so I let that work for me. So I had close to 200 students, right? And, one of the students, his older sister, kind of, make eyes at me. She's much older than me. She don't know that.
How old was she?
No, she was what? She was probably like 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It's kind of statutory there, but
yeah. I didn't even know that till it came time for court. Court time. So later on, I get this paternity suit, and I got to go to court, and they my defendant, the public defender, whatever, goes, "Hey, there's something wrong with your birth date is not right." I'm like, "No, that's the correct birth date." And they're like, "Wait a minute. You were 15 during this time?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I was like 17 by the time the court date came in. And all of a sudden, they approached the judge, and I didn't know judges could swear like this in front of people. But he basically cussed them out, and my public defender said, "Come on, let's walk." And I was like, what happened? He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just go home. You're fine." And so it turns out that she could have gotten in big trouble.
she could have gone to jail.
Absolutely. I didn't realize this. Because,
For statutory rape.
yeah, I felt like, I know I look like a grown man, but I felt like a grown man. And at 17, I damn sure was, so I didn't link that. I didn't know about the law. But yeah, I started really early dating women. And my older brother was in college. I'm in high school. I'm going to his college parties, and he basically treated me like almost like a bounty hunter. He's like, "Oh, there's this one," and I was winning dance competitions, and I do popping and breaking, spinning on my head, doing all this type of stuff. I come in there, and people thought I was his older brother. He's 6 years older than me, but he's about this much shorter, and he's kind of an introvert, and I was not. So I'd run through his college. I just was a maniac. And then so I had skills of picking up women early on. So of course I get to Hollywood and all this type of stuff. And, I'm being pretty truthful, but I'm like, I'm dating a lot of women, and it was all good. It's not like I'm lying. But yeah, I had a lot of girlfriends.
Okay, and you were married how many times?
Twice.
Twice. You're still married?
Yes. Oh yeah.
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 Well, at one point, you actually wrote an apology to all your exes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Wow, that was a trip. I'm married to my best friend. I've known her 23 years, and she was one of those women that I was dating.
One of the 14.
Yeah, and she knows, she's well aware of this. But the time when we spend, like to this day, we've never had an argument. Okay?
Must be nice.
Yeah. I thought relationships were drama.
Yeah.
I really did, because we lost each other on the way to, fixing all these other crazy ass relationships. But we were always the therapists in our peer groups, But so yeah, when we got back together on a real level, it was like I found who I really always wanted to be. Let's talk about full circle. I became that couple that I saw when I was on my bike and, when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted my entire life. And there was a time I didn't think that could ever happen. I then understood what women really wanted. I didn't think it was attainable as far as what, like women who always wanted to talk to you every day. And I was like, I'm like, that can't happen. And I thought, as a man, you always got to have your side pieces. You got to have this or that. I didn't realize that, till I knew I had to become the man I am to deserve the woman I have. Mm-hmm. And here's a way I kind of sum that all up. I always say, okay, now, as guys or girls, whatever, you have your friends that you see, once a month, and it's fine. Some that you see every couple of weeks, and it's fine. And then you have your friends that you see every day, and that's the natural state of things, right? Now imagine your friend that you see once every couple of weeks calling you up the very next day and expecting to see them day after day after day. Well, to see them day after day, that once a week friend, or if that once a week friend moves in with you, it's going to take work because that's not the natural state of things. I married my everyday friend, that friend that I want to see every single day and never get tired of. And that to me was the difference. And if you find that, oh my God. And so when I penned that letter, I understood what other women wanted because now I experienced what they always wanted is to, think about them every day and to be with them every day and to know that I can't exist without them. And so I'm like, apologies, I get it. This is what you wanted. And now I see that.
You guys have kids together?
Yes, yeah.
How many?
2.
2 kids.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Well, 3 altogether. One we share.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
You talked about how Magic Johnson inspired you to get more serious about HIV/AIDS awareness. Mm-hmm. I did a post on my Instagram, and I'd found Eazy-E's obituary.
Oh, yeah?
And you and I are old enough to remember hearing the news about Eazy-E.
Yeah.
And, I did I said R.I.P. Eazy-E, and then I started talking about, AIDS is a real thing. Mm-hmm. You should get tested. Your partner should get tested. There's also products at every pharmacy called OraQuick, which allows you to do a home HIV test and get the results in 30 minutes. There's also a pill called Truvada, which is an AIDS prevention pill. That you take it every day, and it's 99% effective in preventing HIV. One of Eazy-E's daughters, his youngest daughter, kind of lashed back at me and got upset over me using Eazy as a kind of a figure for AIDS awareness, and said that Eazy didn't die of AIDS, he was murdered and so forth. But for me, I pretty much stood my ground as someone who grew up in the 80s, like yourself, that this is a serious thing. And I actually went back and read Eazy's final statement. He talked about how he wants to be an example.
Right.
What are your thoughts on what was it about Magic Johnson that kind of made you rethink the whole thing?
Well, I mean, he was somebody who I knew, and
you knew him personally?
Oh yeah, I knew Magic personally.
Okay, you guys were friends.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and of course, like the whole playing the field, that whole type of thing is like, man, that made it very real for me because I was kind of out there that same way.
So you knew him before he made the announcement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that next phone call like when you guys, or that next conversation after he made the announcement?
Oh, I mean, it's not like we call each other. I mean, we knew each other in passing. We had a lot of mutual friends. I'd be invited to parties over the house, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I knew him that way, socially. But yeah, of course, it became very real. And here's a guy who, hey, he's the man. He's got this going on. From that same thing as, if you're the alpha male, you basically can, run your squad basically. And so of course that was very, immediate to me. And man, the how heroic he was about coming forth and making that announcement, and still, still being that captain in business. They actually flourished afterwards. I mean, I think how many people he helped by having that stature. I think you can't even measure that. So yeah, he made it very real, and he was a testament to how powerful somebody can be if they lend themselves to honesty and being a champion for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's damn near a billionaire now.
Yeah,
if not already.
Yeah. Oh, he's been a billionaire for a long time, and this brother drives around in a Ford. Yeah, the first health club that I was really connected to, it was one of the Magic Johnson health clubs, right? He would work out there every morning, and it's funny, there would be guys with the Lamborghinis and all that type of stuff, that new money, and I used to get a kick out of Magic coming parking his Ford and just right by these guys and waving and watching those guys just walk by, knowing that Magic could buy and sell them.
Richer than all you motherfuckers.
Yeah, nice Lamborghini.
Yeah, nice rims.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of you and Terry Cruz together.
Okay.
Are you guys close at all, or?
Well, yeah, we're friends. I mean, we're not close. I mean,
okay.
It's like
you guys know each other.
Yeah, we have a great deal of respect for each other.
Recently, VladTV was in the news again.
Okay.
Because I did an interview with D.L. Hughley.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah.
Where he talked about Terry Cruz's sexual assault.
I don't understand. I think that now everybody's so into this notion that it happened to me too. Hey, motherfucker, God gave you muscles so you could say no and mean it.
What do you mean it happened to you too?
Like when he went, I could understand people being in certain situations because there's nothing you could do about it.
Did you read the news on this?
My wife tried to tell me a little bit of it. I've only heard little fringes. I really never read anything myself.
Well, yeah, this is covered in the Washington Post and CNN.
Right.
This went everywhere. Terry Cruz responded to DL, and he said, "Hold on a second.
I think was it something about us? Should I slap it?
Yeah. Well, he said. Well, first he said, you told the world God gave me muscles so I could say no. Are you implying I wanted to be sexually assaulted? So DL responded. He said, you saw the video, and then. He said, well, I pushed him back and restrained him, and DL said, well, that's different than slapping the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. So then Terry said, so, sir, if you truly believe that is a correct way to deal with toxic behavior, should I slap the shit out of you too? Mm. So first of all, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Have you personally experienced any sort of sexual harassment?
No. Me? No.
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 By other men?
No.
I'm sure by women every so often.
I wouldn't call it a harassment. Yeah.
I'm sure you've been grabbed inappropriately by other women every so often.
Yeah, I would say that.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, especially in the Bahamas. My God, it's a different place. They think that's a honor or something.
As an actor in Hollywood who gets somewhat similar roles to a Terry Cruz.
I don't know. I don't think I play similar roles to Terry.
You get some of the same roles. Type of roles.
I don't think so.
Terry's somewhat, he was in some action movies and so forth.
Yeah. We're both, somewhat, we're muscular guys. He's bigger, but I mean,
he's bigger than you?
Yeah, Terry's
Okay.
bigger than me. Yeah,
Okay.
he's definitely bigger than me.
Yeah, I've never met him.
Yeah. But he's probably got me about. I mean, he trimmed down, so we're closer to the same weight now.
Well,
Yeah.
so as someone who's also in Hollywood,
Yeah.
what do you take of that whole thing?
Yeah, see, there's a whole different thing. Even if I'm nice, people are scared to death of me.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing. I try to get people to not think I'm going to kick them in the mouth. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be a nice guy, and people are still scared to death because they've seen me do whatever. And so, and I'm not a non-threatening guy. I mean, there's a threatening presence about me. And
I would say that.
And it's actually, somewhat real. Terry, bless his heart, he's, I think he's I recognize he's got a different energy, and he's got a playful energy. He's, and it's worked for him tremendously. I don't have that same energy. And so I think he'll be a little bit more susceptible to a treatment that, I'm not going to get. Again, like I talk to, captains of industry, and they are basically talking about like, wow, you could just kill me with a punch. And I go, will we stop talking about that? I try to get people to see me as,
I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen, I've been in the same room with Terry. We just have never had a conversation. But as a man, and I'm like 6'2", 220. I'm not a small guy.
Right.
I'm bigger than most other men. I don't comprehend approaching someone like a Terry or you in any sort of aggressive manner without thinking I'm gonna get physically hurt in the process. I guess I just don't understand that part.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things. I think Terry has gone through great pains to present himself as someone who is not to be feared. I think that's a difference.
Okay.
And he's the guy in the Old Spice thing. He's had to.
He's more silly than someone like you. He has more sillier roles than someone like you.
Yeah, but he's hilarious. He like, I think about that damn, when he was in White Chicks, and he was fucking hilarious. I could never have done that. I'm not saying it's beneath me. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, some of the stuff, like, is his thing. And I watch that and I go, man, God bless you. Certain things I can't do that. It's not my thing. But I think because of that, there's certain things that he inherited from, showing a kinder, gentler, more so goofy nature. And I think that even though, people, he's disarmed people,
Okay.
I think that could be the reason why, and they don't see the threat of what he can do, which is kind of crazy. They should be able to see the threat.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
like I said, I'll be damned if I go and do anything aggressive towards you or a Terry without having a weapon on me or something of that sort. Like,
yeah, but I mean, I would say that you could look at T.I. and not to do that to him. And he's half the size.
I would do it to T.I. before I do it to Terry. Let's just put it out there. I've been around T.I.
Yeah.
I think I could take T.I.
Well,
I could tackle
that's you.
him. Yeah.
That's you. Okay. But that may not be someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what was interesting, because the conversation kept going.
Yeah.
And, D.L. Hughley's actually a regular on my show.
Oh, cool.
We've done 3 interviews, planning another one. And me and him talk all the time. He came back and said the timing of Terry's attack towards him or response towards him was interesting because our interview was like a year old. But it happened 36 hours after he tried to defend Gina Rodriguez. Do you know that whole story?
No, I'm sorry.
Do you know who Gina Rodriguez is?
Gina?
Let me show you.
Gina Rodriguez?
Gina. Hold on a second. Gina Rodriguez. This actress right here.
Oh, that's not the...
Jane the Virgin, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Gina has this interesting history on speaking towards black women and black people in general. Like, for example, right when Black Panther first came out, she said, "Oh, congrats to Black Panther, but what about the Latino superheroes?" You know, asking for a friend.
Okay.
And then she went on to say that Latinas are the lowest paid group in Hollywood, which isn't true actually at all. And then there was another instance where she was doing press for, I think, a Littlefoot with a black female co-star, and the interviewer asked her, you know, how do you feel getting a role like this for black women? And then Gina interrupted and said, "Oh, for all women." And she went on Sway in the morning and basically had a breakdown and started crying about people accusing her of racism towards black women, and said that's not really her heart and so forth. Terry Crews did a series of tweets to defend her because they had worked together, and then came back, and then deleted those tweets and came back and said, "I apologize for defending her because this is not my fight," and so forth.
Right.
And DL feels that this is a deflection from him doing that because black women, you know, Terry Crews said black women were the only ones who actually stood up for him during the whole sexual harassment thing.
Well, I don't know what you want to say. I mean, I have no reason to not believe him. Yeah, I think naturally I would think more black women would do that, and black men would be like, "Oh hell no." And you know, I mean, it's a different thing. And I mean, I guess I can see everybody's perspective. There's a part of me that just kind of like, and I can't put myself in that situation because I don't have that. If somebody, I'm gonna.
Okay, so
I would kill somebody.
Okay, so if a gay man walked up to you and grabbed your genitals, what would you do?
I think I'd probably hit him in the solar plexus really hard, so it wouldn't leave a big mark, but he would be down. I mean, but I'd wonder if the guy was drunk or something.
Probably,
but
he was also the head of William Morris Endeavor.
It doesn't matter.
Well, but
It doesn't matter.
This is what I'm saying. So if William Morris is the biggest talent agency in Hollywood.
One of them.
One of them.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't matter if the head of the biggest talent agency.
Dude, I come from. You could have a fucking gun in your hand, and I'll fuck you up if you did that. Okay. I just come from a different place. It doesn't matter. If I got to go, I got to go. No.
Doesn't matter.
No. Actually, yeah. I mean, the best chance that somebody would have, if they're 5'2" and 115 pounds, I might give you a break because I don't want to kill you. You know what I mean? Or I would do something like I'd publicly humiliate you, pick you up by the seat of your pants. I would do something that was so humiliating that you can't show your face again. That, that's the best way, because if I destroy somebody who's tiny, I look like,
Well, and that was his argument, saying, well, it'd be the big, the big black guy would be looked as the aggressor.
Yeah.
In this situation, I would be the villain, and it would mess up my career and so forth.
Probably because he's making special observance that he not be seen that way. I don't mind being seen that way. I'll fucking kill you. You know what I mean? So it's just a different thing. I will, I know and I live with the fact that if somebody disrespects me, my whole career could be in jeopardy. But from a jail cell, I will tell my children, this is who I am. That's just me. That's just me. Somebody else could disagree with it, and I can see why they could. But there's no way I'm living a certain existence if I don't. There's something. There's something, for me. There's something I'll live and die for. But that's just me, That's, and on one level, I can see that as being really stupid. I can see that that decision could be really stupid. But yeah, but that's who I am.
I just find it interesting because Terry has gone on this whole crusade about toxic masculinity and the problems with it. And The Root had an interesting article about this whole thing. It says, the title was, "In order to end toxic masculinity once and for all, Terry Crews offers to slap the shit out of D.L. Hughley."
Who wrote that?
Whoever the writer was.
That's funny.
I don't know. To me, it's like, all right, so a guy violated you. You chose not to do anything. Take your L and keep it moving. In fact, the guy ended up getting fired afterwards. He ended up leaving the company.
Yeah.
To continuously keep talking about it and to make yourself look like the victim and so forth, as a man, I just don't quite get it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a...
You're speaking to Congress about it. Like, what I mean? You're the victim mentality, I just don't get. Not from a Terry Crews.
Yeah, I can't, like, it's a weird thing. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, I can only speak from my perspective, right? Or if I was in that situation. But when I look at what might be right for him, it's just, I go, maybe that's right for him. I just can't. I can't make my judgment on that because we're just different people. There's so much that's about just being different, and I can't. And so if Terry Crews were white, would I be talking about this right now? Would we be talking about this? Okay,
I think we would.
Yeah, well,
I think we would because Terry is the only male member of Me Too right now. So therefore, if he was white or Asian or whatever else, we'd be talking about the one Me Too guy.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know if I'd be, there's, I don't know. I think I just let people do their thing and I say, okay, if it's not for me or not, I can, it's hard for me to judge because I go, from his perspective, I'm not surprised by that, like, and I think maybe there might be a political thing in there, but a lot of that is political. I think he's ultimately, I still applaud. He's done, like, if his goal is to, I mean, I remember Terry from way back when he's doing these small roles and seeing what he's accomplished, right? And you gotta break some eggs and make an omelet. And so, yeah, a certain amount of it, I think, is by committee, by having to be careful and all these different things. And I think he'll rise past this and just so be it. This guy's he's farting through silk. You know what I mean? He's living good, and this ain't nobody gonna be talking about this in a year from now. Yeah, so it's like, hey, hey, whatever.
I was in an episode of the Boondocks.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Playing myself via Carl Jones, who went on to do Black Dynamite.
Right. Yeah.
Very dope cartoon. Number one.
Thank you.
You played the voice in the cartoon? Yeah.
Yeah. They're one of the writers as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you did the live action.
Well, I did the live action first.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, the live action came first and the cartoon came
second.
Was Carl Jones involved in the...
No.
In the live action? Okay, he just did the cartoon.
Just the cartoon, yeah.
Got it. Great film.
Thank you.
A great film. And, it kind of borrows from the blaxploitation films of like Superfly and Dolomite and everything else like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you really pulled off a great role.
Thank you.
In that. I've always wondered, because I heard you talk about it a little bit on Hollywood Unlocked, the term blaxploitation. I guess it's meant as, to encompass all the films that Hollywood tried to take advantage of doing all these black films after the initial success of some of the early ones.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Superfly, you still refer to it as a blaxploitation film.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
well, yeah. People generally categorize all those films as blaxploitation, which is
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, which is
Weird.
yeah, which is sad to some degree.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these movies predated the term blaxploitation.
Yeah.
The term blaxploitation came along later
Yeah.
when they exploited. I mean, the true blaxploitation movies were movies like there could be an Asian movie and they would stick a scene with a black person, a current black actor, or making it seem like there were black people in this movie to get people into the theaters, because all of the black movies were being seen. You had the inner city, which was filled with black people due to white flight, and so like Shaft, no way could that be a blaxploitation movie. It was written as a white guy in the lead. That was one of the movies that proved that this was a viable business. So later on, there were movies, of course, that they used the very little budget to kind of exploit getting black people into the theaters, but that word just became really big, and it became synonymous with all black movies.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Shaft, Superfly, the Dolomite films,
Yeah.
it's all considered blaxploitation.
Yeah, Dolomite more blaxploitation than those other ones, because
Yeah.
it's Shaft and Superfly and the Mac. The Mac was
Mac.
a really freaking good movie.
Yeah, filmed in Oakland.
Yeah, shit. The Mac was. I mean, I look at Hustle and Flow as an updated The Mac.
I can see that.
Really, it's a drama. It was political. It was a lot of these movies were political.
Yeah.
They were not blaxploitation. Some of these movies were black action films.
Right.
Yeah, like Three the Hard Way.
Yeah.
That was three major action stars, of that time.
Well, and then you said that you based a lot of kind of your career around The Last Dragon.
Well, yes, about
The actor in The Last Dragon.
Well, yeah, I'll explain that a little bit clearer. What happened with Timac's career? Really, I based a lot of the plotting of my career behind that. I realized during that blaxploitation time.
Was The Last Dragon during that time?
No.
Came
But
later.
I'm
right?
jumping back. But when I see those movies of the 70s, that somewhat blaxploitation era, right around 1976 when Jaws hit and the blockbuster was created, you didn't see these hyper action black movies anymore, and a lot of the reason is because people didn't go from in front of the camera to behind the camera. Those people who were directing and writing, they continued to work, but people like Jim Brown and all these powerful alpha males, they didn't have any work anymore because they didn't need them. Hollywood didn't need them anymore. So, and when a fluke happens like The Last Dragon, where you have Timac, this great looking guy, at the height of these martial arts action movies, the height of Shapiro Glickenhaus and Cannon Films and all this type of stuff, you have this tremendously successful movie with a black character who can kick ass, good looking, and is a household name, and they never offer him another movie.
Yeah, he was never in anything else after that.
I took that to heart and I said, they are not checking on you. I happen to know, I can name 20 people that had, 20 white guys who had contracts with all of these different companies, the Cannons and all that type of stuff. And all they had to do was be able to somewhat kick. And they were given contracts, major contracts. and not one to Timac. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. If I had the money, I would bank on him, but they were not. And personally, even though, I mean, I can name, there's so many movies where I would audition as the best friend to the white guy, and it's an action movie, right? And there'd be times where I can't tell you how many times where someone would say, "We need a white you, somebody who can act and do martial arts."
Do you know anybody?
This happened, and to where I would give them, I would like, okay, I ran down people that they used me like a producer to find.
That's so funny.
Like it's happened for a long time. Like when I ended up doing Undisputed 2, of course, like this Scott Adkins, it's like I was instrumental in getting Scott to be in there. There was so much of a mandate of, let's find a white guy, not you as a lead. We need, when I would suggest, well, what about me being the lead? I can act and can play this leading character. It's a cop or whatever. They're like, no, can you find me a white guy? And I'm like, oh shit, this is really how they think, right?
Well, I mean, you've actually said that you feel that even black actors who have gotten Oscars, it doesn't really affect their career in the same way as white counterparts.
It's the truth. It's just the truth.
I started thinking about it.
Until now, I think right now we happen to be in the midst of the only Oscar winner or nominee that who's black Oscar winner or nominee whose career is actually stepping up for the first time.
And who is that?
Mahershala Ali.
Ali, yeah.
Is the first time.
Yeah.
Because everybody you name that's won an Oscar, and I won't name any names because last time I named somebody, they tried to go negative on it and say I was attacking them.
Well, I mean, like I know Jamie Foxx, and he murdered it in Ray. Mm-hmm. But when I look at the roles he's gotten after Ray, they're not Oscar caliber roles. It has nothing to do with his actual ability.
Any black performer, any black actor. Anyone, I mean, from the very beginning.
There's Monique.
And what happened after that?
Not much, but long story.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Lou Gossett Jr.
Let's see, who else? Halle Berry.
Even nominees. And, I can't say anything. People say, oh, is he coming for so-and-so? It's like, yeah, like keep naming them. And it's like, that is as far as they go. Like with Denzel and Sam Jackson and Morgan Freeman, they continue to have the same.
Yeah, I mean, after Denzel he won the Oscar for Glory.
Well, he continued to do his thing. He was on his same trajectory. Nothing changed. He was there by way of being a box office draw and continued to do so. But it's kind of like where you say, Barkhad Abdi or Gabourey Sidibe. Like you keep going and you go, wait a minute. But then when I made this statement, I just chose the white actors that were nominated that year, which was 10 different names. And each of them, you can track that they went from a nomination to a win to their careers always
leading
went
roles
up.
Yeah.
You almost can't find many whose an Oscar nomination or a win doesn't take them to the heights.
You've said that, I guess Denzel told you that at the end of the day, you'll be defined by the roles that you don't take.
Right.
Rather than you do take. Mm-hmm. What were some of the key roles you've turned down?
Oh, boy. I'm good at, like, just deleting a lot of the...
So have you had, because some of the, like Lord Jamar from Brand New Beans, a regular guest on the show. And, he has a theory that black actors, male black actors, will never break out unless they wear a dress, and and dress like a woman,
Right.
and he used certain comparisons and so forth. Were you ever asked, ever had a role where you were going to dress like a woman in that role? Had you accepted it?
No, it was a part of a comedy. I was doing a sitcom, and it was just a quick suggestion. I was like, I'm not doing that. And okay, cool. It was not, but it was not no conspiratorial type of thing like that.
Okay.
No, I've never been. I've been asked to do. I don't have that kind of ego that I feel like I can do any kind of role to. I mean, I remember after Spawn, I was approached to do. These producers approached me to do the Marvin Gaye story. I'm like,
Marvin
that's
Gaye.
nice. No, I can't do that. I can't be some buff ass Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, you're kind of stocky.
Yeah,
to be
come on.
Marvin
No,
Gaye.
it's like I don't have the ego that you say. Yeah, I'm gonna go from Tyson to damn Marvin. Come on.
I'm gonna lose
it's like
100
one of those type of
pounds
things.
and-
But but no, nobody's tried to get me to wear a dress. And I'm sorry, I can't go along with you don't make it until you wear a dress. People don't mind if you do. They don't mind if you. That's not me. That's not.
Yeah.
My career is an experiment on. My heroes were never actors. I did a thing where and I respect people who are men, who are women or men who have certain integrity. I'm not going to sell that for nothing. I don't worship actors. I don't care how rich somebody is. You could be a rich asshole. You're still an asshole. And I don't fear anybody. Nobody. I don't care if you're a billionaire. It doesn't mean anything to me. Like, you could get it. You know what I mean? Really. And I don't think I'll really come. I don't think people will try to test me on those type of things. I'm going to continue to. I have a fan base that believes in me, and I'm building a business that is going to be supporting that fan base, and that's really the way I'm focused, and I'm going to be honest. My honesty and integrity is priceless. That's what it's connected to all the things that I cherish in my world, in my friendships and in my family. Those are the people that I'm in it for. Like, there's nobody with a role. There's a lot of roles that, it's like I don't give a shit. I don't care about. Yeah, I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's not even stressful. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. My manager and agents, they know.
Yeah, I mean,
they know I'm not going to do certain things.
It kind of reminds me like Nick Cannon, like when he called me when he was considering quitting America's Got Talent because they made some comments about one of his stand-up, and he was like, I don't give a fuck about that money. Fuck that check.
Right.
Like, $10 million a year? Fuck it. I'll make that somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he quit.
Yeah. That's
and he got a new show. Word was that you walked away from a $10 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was
It was big.
It was up there. It's like, because obviously it was for multiple years, so it was even more than that at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, whether it was 20, 30, whatever, it's like I was signed up to be on America's Got Talent for a very long time, and because I had been on it for 8 years already, I was the highest paid host on NBC, and it's like, me and Ryan are the only ones that got to that level of being paid, crazy money to host. But I was like, fuck that money. Like, I believe in myself. I'm bigger than this job. So you can have that. I'll make that money and more next year.
Exactly. That's it's that simple. You got a fan base, you got followers. Be you, do you. You know what I mean? Like, man, just like, I can't imagine walking around with the angst of selling myself or something, or feeling like I can't look at myself in the mirror. That's priceless, man.
Yeah.
So like, it's a simple thing. It's not even it's not anything to toil over.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, I'm good.
That's not me.
next.
Yeah, there it is. It's that simple.
You've said that you could have beat Bruce Lee.
Oh, I wish I didn't say that shit.
Well, you know what's funny is just randomly, I was watching Enter the Dragon the other night. I'd forgotten how small Bruce Lee was.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I made a mistake.
What does he weigh, like 160 pounds or
No,
something?
132.
132, there you go.
I mistakenly said that.
I might be able to beat Bruce Lee.
Look,
I'll tackle him first.
the fact is, you know, I am one of these people who, like a lot of action people, stars, or, you know, martial arts stars, I benefit by the belief that martial arts heroes can beat a whole slew of people. I benefit. My family gets fed behind that. So I can't hate on that very much. So that illusion of a martial artist being able to just beat up everybody.
Well, I think you said that at one point you beat up 5 guys at once.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not all myth.
Well, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. I hit real fucking hard. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I mean, and most people are not used to that shit.
Yeah. And you weigh how much?
225.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, and I've done it all my life. So it's a different thing. So, but if I had said that amongst fighters, they'd completely understand. There's not one real fighter that would dispute what I said.
Right.
Because
a 220
they know,
pounder versus a 130 pounder.
Yeah, at the time I said I was 235, but it's like
100 plus pounds.
Exactly, and then somebody who is not a fighter. So even if it's amongst elite fighters, Floyd Mayweather is, and I'll defend this with anybody, is the most advanced fighter who ever lived. It should be no disputing that. No disputing that. But there's no freaking way in the world he's going to beat Mike Tyson. He could run across the street and dive off a table and punch Mike Tyson with all he has, and it's not going to affect him.
Yeah.
It's just physics. It's just not. So when I say, oh yeah, it could have beat Bruce Lee, I wish I didn't say that because he's my hero too.
Yeah.
But I said that against people's hero, and they weren't supposed to hear that. The fact is, I should be able to say I can beat, you know, Thor. The way I feel is like if I have to fight Thor, Thor's got to die. That's my attitude. So if Bruce Lee, you know, and anyone else, from my perspective, they got to die.
Right.
But,
so, I mean,
you know,
if I were to ask you, can you beat Floyd Mayweather right now?
what? Come on, you know Floyd. I mean, if you ask Floyd Mayweather if he could beat me, he would say no. I mean, he knows what a fighter. I mean, Floyd did. I mean, he did a great job with Conor McGregor. That is the heaviest person he ever had to fight.
Because Floyd weighs how much? Like
There was real danger there, but Floyd just he outsmarted him. I mean, I'm very fast. I'm unusually fast for a big guy.
Yeah, Floyd weighs 150 pounds.
Yeah, and Conor is more like 175. When you are under 200 pounds, that 5 pounds makes a huge difference. But unless you're a fighter, you're not going to understand that.
Well, it says Conor McGregor says 154 pounds. Maybe he was heavier during that fight.
No, he was definitely heavier. He was so much bigger than Floyd. I mean, look at the skeleton. You know what I mean? A lot of times, you take the flesh away. Look at the skeleton of the fighters. That really shows you what's really happening.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, and it's, you know, so Floyd dismantled them the real smart way, but Floyd was in real danger because he's fighting a much bigger dude.
Yeah, getting hit with the wrong punch and boom.
Yeah, for real. So it's a different thing. I mean, Floyd's such a master, but it's different when you got that much difference of a weight.
So on top of you being able to beat Bruce Lee, you're now
I shouldn't have said that shit.
You're now saying you could also beat Floyd Mayweather.
Of course.
This is the new
quote. Come on.
I can beat Bruce Lee and Floyd Mayweather. You might as well just say it at the same time.
But what? But Floyd wouldn't say he beat Conor McGregor in a street fight.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say that.
Yeah, kicking and so forth.
Yeah, because then you're saying fighting, you mean everything. You know, it's like, come on. You know, that's, man, like again, Floyd's the best boxer who ever freaking lived. I'm the biggest Floyd Mayweather fan. I even like in my choreography and, you know, Never Back Down 3, I'm doing Floyd Mayweather shit in there. You know what I mean? He's influenced me so much. I study that guy. I will watch Floyd Mayweather on slow motion like for an hour. Like I'm a fight nerd. That dude is just the most advanced ever. But I mean, that whole Bruce Lee thing, if there was something I could take back, I would have taken back that statement because I just fucked with everybody's hero, including mine, right? So I sound like an absolute asshole, even though I'm, of course it's the truth. If he had to fight anybody that was above 150, you're an actor fighting a real fighter. Like if he had to fight Benny Urquidez, oh my God, Benny Urquidez. Fighting is not pretty. It's trading blows. If you're not used to getting hit, guess what's going to happen? So it's, I hate that I said it, but it is the truth. But I'm not saying it to make myself look better. Shit, I'm talking about beating a guy 132 pounds. That's some bully shit. That's not something I'm proud of.
Right.
I thought I was just educating people on, hey, look, use your common sense. No, this can't happen.
Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah. I hate that I said it.
Thank you so much for coming in. Hell of a journey, which is still going strong.
Yeah,
Continuously doing movies.
Yeah, I got 6 movies coming out.
6 movies coming out.
6 movies coming out, and so things have been great, man. I've been blessed.
What are some of these movies?
Shoot, okay. Got a movie. I got some action movies, some comedies, some. I got like man, sometimes it's hard for me to recount it because like I put it in my rear view. I got Triple Threat with Iko Uwais, from The Raid, and Tony Jaa, Michael Bisping, Scott Adkins, a bunch of us. That's a fighting movie. I got another movie called The Hard Way with Randy Couture and myself. It's another action kind of thing, and Luke Goss. Got a movie called Dragged Across Concrete with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, Tory Kittles. Another movie called Send It, where it's about a kiteboarding. It's about a teenage coming of age movie, and this kid is a kiteboarding champion, and he's a Disney kind of kid, and white kid. I play his dad, which is kind of like unique because it's kind of like it's like Blindside in reverse. I'm like Mr. Drummond but black, so that's a little weird, a little different. Just finished Undercover Brother 2.
Oh,
yeah.
With
Nope.
Eddie Griffin's not in it. Damn. Okay. You're the Undercover Brother. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I was supposed to reveal that, but you might have an exclusive there.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Are you gonna have the watch with the mayonnaise, or the hot sauce? The hot sauce watch, like in the first one.
No, I don't think that made it through this.
No, that didn't make it to part 2. Okay.
Yeah, but I got a bunch of things happening, and getting ready to do some of my own stuff. Yeah.
Okay, making your own films.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's what it was all about, really. That's the chess game.
That's the chess game.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's up, Michael Jai White, man. Congrats on everything.
Well, thank you, bro.
And like I said, the momentum is still going crazy.
Yeah.
And in a very, very hard place like Hollywood.
Yeah.
To continuously get these roles for over 20 years?
25
sir. Years?
Yeah, but it's a global thing, man.
Yeah.
It's just not about just Hollywood anymore. It's about, I just came back from Ghana and.
Right, congrats. You're a chief in Ghana now?
Yeah.
An honorary chief?
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
The third. Mike J. White. Michael says, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, I've been a steward, and actually tomorrow I'm meeting with the Prince.
Prince of Ghana.
Yeah. He's coming here to kind of. We're gonna go over some things I can do because you know I've been part of education system here, and
Dope.
And I got something to share with with Ghana and putting some ideas together.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Michael Jai White, man. Until next time.
All right, bro.
Peace.
Thanks.